we try our best to, document everything that came out in the 90s and the 2000s, all the groups, all the acts that came out, whether they were super big or they had, you know,
One
moments in
hit
R&B like,
wonders.
you
So
know,
the
it,
one hit wonders.
but I think the biggest thing is like there's a story behind every group. And I think what's cool is like having you guys here and allowing you guys to share your story and talk about some of the challenges that you guys have, but not just the challenges, but also like some of those memorable moments that only you guys experienced and you guys are able to tell because you guys came up in an era in the 90s and there's no era like it. It was, kind of like the golden era of R&B. So really honored to have you guys on here.
Yeah, thanks again.
We appreciate
I'm
it.
to be here.
Absolutely. So let's get started here. Kind of talk about just putting this group together early on and just kind of finding that sound, like before you guys got the deal. Like, what was that process like for you guys?
Kurt, you want to lead?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, we all knew each other before we actually got together as a group. We were already friends already and doing other shows together that was locally. Curtis was already he was doing shows with the late Dennis Edwards, who actually gave us a chance to go out on the road with him as well before we got a record deal. And the rest is probably just history, man. I mean, we started cutting records. I think it was like in 90, I want to say 95, 90, probably 94. We didn't get signed in 95.
Yeah.
And we cut a few demos, sent them out to Atlanta. Next thing I knew, maybe like a month after we sent them out, we're already getting contact by, individuals that was interested. If I'm telling the story right, somebody can jump in and help.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
like I said, the rest is
Before then, man, we changed. Man, we must have changed the name 3 or 4 times.
yeah.
It wasn't until singing with Dennis Edwards kind of gave us the idea of Old Skool, learning his way plus knowing our way, still staying in that 90s, but learning all his from his expertise of being a Temptation forever, and taking us on the road. So he was teaching us on stage and off the stage etiquette, how to chill and how to do what you do and don't worry about nobody else. Do what you got to do. It was hard, but we did it and we got blessed. I look at it all the time as a blessing because we came out at a time where it was a lot of groups.
Yeah.
The whole ordeal with the interview with Keith Sweat was like just a blessing out the blue. We weren't like a lot of groups doing a lot of talent shows and things like that. We didn't get a chance to do a lot of those things because we got blessed right from the top, which was, in so many ways kind of too fast. And some, when you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it kicked off pretty much.
Nice. What was who were some of the groups that you guys looked up to and modeled your sound after during that era? Because I know New Jack Swing was big then. Jodeci started creeping in with a hip hop soul sound. Boys to Men with those ballads. Like, who were you guys modeling your sound after?
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was kind of, what? Being from being from that Midwest, man, it's kind of hard because we got everything from the East Coast to West Coast. So, and then Bobby being a producer and being out there before, he had already went to work with a lot of big time production companies and him and Jason. And before then, and then me and Jerome Pookie Lane, we were gospel artists. We ran gospel scene for a while. We sung with a lot of big groups and opened up for a lot of big gospel quartet groups. So we took that same. We basically, believe it or not, we came from the same place that Jodeci came from. Same stage. At that time, back in the day, they would come to St. Louis, and we want to be like that. But they wasn't Jodeci at the time. It's crazy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they become Jodeci, and we right there doing the same thing. So with Bobby's style of music, and all of us listening to so much different stuff and working with temps, that Temptation thing, man, it was kind of like we just did what we did. It wasn't really we just wanted to create good music. We really didn't care about a style or genre at the time. We was
cool. So we fast forward here. You guys are shopping your demo around. You guys, major labels are starting to take notice to you guys. During that period, you guys got a contract offer. What was that like amongst the group, and just like realizing that, hey, your dream may come true. Life is about to change, at least from your perspective. Like, what was the expectations and the conversations amongst you guys at that time? Like, were you guys thinking things were about to really take off?
Yeah, I would say that, man. But I think it took us a long time, probably really get adjusted to it, man. Because it happened so fast. I mean, like I said earlier, as soon as we sent the music off, shortly after we sent it off, responses was coming quick, and Keith was just one of the biggest ones just to jump on first and and show his first interest. And yeah, man, it was like winning the lottery to us, man.
Yeah, man, I think it only took like what was it, like 6 months?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
that's about 6 months.
Yeah. But then it took longer. But you know what? The wait was, we work and we work and we work, and it seemed like everything we was doing, just even though we loved it and people liked it, it was like, you never getting in, you never understand the timing of it. That hurry up and wait in the show business.
Yeah.
It's real. Everything you do is hurry up and wait. You show up to a show, you sit backstage till it's time,
Right.
You show up to do a recording and put y'all, change your life, recording basically. And once you do all the recording, you still sit and wait.
Right.
That's the killer part of it. The blessing for us was we were able to write. So Keith saw that we were writers, and we was pretty much a self-contained group. We didn't use a lot of outside production at all. Not sometimes me and Bobby would write songs on the phone. I'll be driving, he at home doing a beat, and I start singing right then and there, like we write a song. And it's crazy how it worked. The chemistry was amazing. But for us, we were blessed. We was able to write before we came out. So we was already writing for groups, and writing for artists. So that was a good thing.
Right. Talk about like artist development at that time. We don't really hear that term anymore, but you guys came from the era of the 90s. You guys had to wait a bit. You guys got signed. You guys had assumed would have to develop as an act. Not only with your sound, but learning how to talk to media, learning how to dress, learning how to walk onto, the stage and own it. Like, what was that whole process like for you guys?
Like Curtis said a little while ago, we pretty much had that before we got signed, because Dennis, I mean, rest his soul in peace, he gave us a lot of game, man. And I mean, him being a Temptation, he gave us that swag, man, to own that stage. Because when we performed with him, man, we couldn't. He didn't never want us to hold back. He pushed us really hard to like, hey, this is how it's done.
Even to the steps.
You gotta do it right. He went to the steps, man. We was.
People would come in, and what we didn't know Dennis was doing. He was at that time. He was working with us, doing his solo show, and then he was working with the Temps too at the same time. So he was doing a lot, man. He would come over, and man, before you know it, we had food and rehearsals, and he's stand up and he's taller than everybody in the room. So that's pretty much the artist development started there. And but then of course, it's again a blessing. We go from one big name guy to another big name guy, Keith Sweat.
Right,
exactly. Keith Sweat. So we didn't really have a lot of time in between to just hang around and do what we wanted to do. Plus we love doing it. So
yeah. Let's talk about the record Set You Free, because I know that's one that you guys put together. Ended up being on the radio. Like, just take me back to those moments of creating the record, seeing it through, and then seeing it being played nationwide. Like, that must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. What you say, Kurt?
Man. The funny part, even though check this out, a lot of people don't know this. but we all had regular jobs, working our regular jobs while we had a record deal.
Wow.
We was at home. We cut that song, Paradise Studios, right? St. Louis, Clara and Paige. In a house.
By a guy, Ricky Bates.
Ricky Bates. Yeah. And the funny part is, because we did that again, it goes back to our writing. We just get in and just start cutting. We never wrote a lot of lyrics down. We just vibed. I'll never forget, I was on lunch break. I took like a 2-hour lunch break. Took a 2-hour lunch break. We got there, and Pretty Russ was there, Lando was there, everybody, all our homies was there, and we hung out, and we got there and just started. And we just started. Just like the track was up, and they was like, "What you got?" We didn't. It just started. We just keep lines, just kept lines. You know, we had the style of I like to say hip hop artists. A lot of them going at it, and they changed the lines a lot too. And we was just going in there, just cutting, man. It was. But to hear it on the radio was our first time hearing it on the radio when we landed in St. Louis, coming home for something. I forgot what it was for, but it was on the radio, Set You Free, and that's when it was like, okay, it's Christmas. You know, no gifts. That was the biggest gift. It was Christmas.
It definitely was.
So,
kind of take me through this timeline. So Set You Free comes out. Was that after the Keith Sweat cosign, or was that before? Like, just take me through that.
It was after.
Yeah. Right.
It was after. Yeah, it was after.
Okay. So you put out this record, does well. Obviously, then you guys get the green light to work on your debut album. Just take me through that process of creating it. Like, did you guys have a lot of creative control putting that thing together?
We had all the creative control.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
It was basically, here's the key. Work.
Wow.
You know, so sometimes Keith would come down and hang out. Of course, he had to come and check it out, or as I say, he did the sleepwalking. So when we all go home, he'll come down to the studio, and then he'll listen. You know, sometimes he hang out with us or whatever, do things, but for the most part, he believed in our writing. He believed in and I know he did, because we wrote for him a lot. We did a lot of songs for Sweat too, but
wow.
Yeah, he believed in our writing, man. The writing was really, we had a little, once we got our deal, we got the little spot in Atlanta. We had a little raggedy apartment and shit. And we was chilling, you know, we set up there. I mean, he some of the keyboards Keith had, we used. We had a whole setup. We would practice concerts in the living room before we go to the studio sometimes. You know, whether we had words or not, you know, it was just fun stuff. So the creative control was there. I guess the biggest part, again, for me was the wait. After cutting all this song, cutting all this music, of course, you never put everything out.
Yeah,
I think we had some of the better songs on our maxi single that never made the album, you know, never made the CD.
Right.
And so we would have this maxi single, we cut. And then when we're done cutting, we're cutting the Sweat. So we were writing for Sweat. So we were working all day. We was doing 12, 18 hours in the studio sometimes.
Wow.
Again, didn't bother us, because why? That's what we did. That's what we moved to go to do that. So it was a lot of dedication, man.
But I will add this too on top of what Kurt. A lot of stuff we did. I'm not gonna say a lot. Maybe I say maybe half of the record we'd already done before we even got signed. The same songs that we demoed were on the album.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's true. It was pretty much self-contained.
Jason, let me ask you this here, because like you guys came after Silk, because Silk was Keith's group. They had their separation, and then Keith starts working with you guys. Did you kind of feel that pressure coming up after Silk? Because Silk was a huge group at that time. They had hits. Like, did you feel that pressure at that time?
Well, what a lot of people don't know, I came into the group on the second album.
Oh, okay.
I joined in 1999, so one of them guys can take it.
Okay.
It wasn't
Jason.
No
What you say, Tony?
wasn't no pressure at all.
No,
we knew. We knew.
We all knew each other. Yeah. Plus, we knew like I said, we all known each other for years. Tony and especially Jason had known each other for years. And before Old Skool, Jason and I had a group that was called Just Brothers that we were part of. So we all had a relationship. It's just when things changed for us, we just had to, find somebody else that was really serious about the craft, and that's where Jason came along.
Oh, okay.
But no, I take it back. I felt pressure. It wasn't that bad pressure. It was just, it wasn't just, we knew he wouldn't have picked us because he had other groups lined up to take. We knew that. We heard about it. We had other labels that was looking for us too. So we jumped on it. I mean, of course we're gonna jump on it. It's Keith Sweat. I mean, we had other labels, but of course the other labels, once they found out that Keith Sweat had us, they kind of like, all right. They still was giving our attorneys and managers at the time more than Hawthorne. They was giving them calls, and they was getting calls, but everybody, and believe this, everybody was new to it, to this business. So we jumped on what we thought was the best. The name, the hot name, which was Sweat, and he was super hot at that time with LSG, and nobody came out, and there was a lot. So of course we was able, and working with Sweat, man, it was like, I mean, the pressure in the beginning was real, but the pressure eased off because he was so hands-on with us for a little bit. He just stayed in, and it kind of gave us that comfortable feeling. I remember, believe it or not, there's one song we were all on. It never came out, I don't think. It was us, Silk, Total, all his groups with it, and John P. Key. It was kind of gospel. It was some things going on with that. People say you don't put gospel records on R&B song. They didn't do it, but it would have been a hot song with all of us at one. I think the song would have been phenomenal, but he never put it out. So
damn. But a song that did come out was "Am I Dreaming" with Keith and Xscape at that time. Big record. Talk about how that song kind of changed your guys' life, because it's hard to get a hit. You guys got that hit. Like, what was the aftermath of that? Did you guys get to hit the road, and what was that like?
We was on the road with Set You Free, believe it or not.
Okay.
We really were. And Am I Dreaming, it took off without us even knowing it. Like labels the radio stations that was privately owned or whatever, like in Chicago was playing Am I Dreaming before they was even playing Set You Free.
Wow.
Just like in LA, they were playing something we did that Don Cornelius picked. We had to sing it on Soul Train because that's what they were playing in LA. And it was crazy. So it was, but Am I Dreaming was that, of course, man. That was it, So
that record took off very fast.
Yeah, it was out before we even thought about it. So to get that on, that was the belt. That was, I don't even know how to call it. That was a Trojan horse right there.
Right.
It almost took off faster than what we thought,
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It kind of, with the Billboard charts, man, you got a lot of charts on that Billboard.
Right.
That thing was, man, every other week, that thing was jumping up from the 200s to the top 50, top 40, top 10. Then before you know it, man, I remember right at the top 10, I was thinking like, damn, is this thing gonna hit number one? It was crazy, man. It was just it was a monster.
It was crazy.
And it ended up going to number one, man. And just to have a number one single for your first time out on Billboard, that was huge for us.
Wow.
It's funny though too. I mean, you still feel that we do all these damn songs. We write all these songs. We have remake, and the remake was the thing that blew, which was popping. I mean, even to this day, it's nothing like old school music. So we still, even to this day, that sound of that old school stuff still works. Just talking about Coolio, rest in peace. Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
His biggest song was from another old remake. 90s was the thing for remakes, and it opened. That's what makes him hot right now. If you go to New York, I used to live in New York, and that's all you hear is 90s in New York.
Wow.
Popping in New York. It's still hot 90s, but it was huge, man.
So I'm curious, the debut comes out, Old Skool, self-titled debut. What was that like for you guys, for the project to come out and then for the numbers to come out, and it might not be what you guys thought it would have been?
Bobby? Tony?
You say, can you say that again about the numbers?
Well, yeah, the album comes out, and of course, you guys probably have huge expectations. You guys got a hit on your hands. I'm thinking every artist wants to go platinum. Every artist wants to hit gold. Like to have that not come to fruition. Like, what was that like for you guys?
It was definitely a transition, man. But some, things happened, and I
Yeah.
think some other things was going on at the time. And because really, at number one with "Am I Dreaming," I remember being out in Vegas, and because like Curtis said, we had so many strong records on that album besides "Set You Free"
Yeah.
and "Am I Dreaming." There was other songs on there, and we were really shocked when we were told to really recut another record because we really didn't want to start another record because that record was still hot. We were still working it.
Right.
So I think the transition from getting pulled, and not to throw anybody out, under the bus about it, but because we didn't make those kind of decisions.
Right. Yeah.
From that transition being pulled from something that's already running with legs on it already,
Yeah.
and to immediately go start something else. To me, that transition is what did it. It wasn't because going to number one, man. Anytime you're a household name, sometimes if you go platinum, especially on Billboard number one. By then, we're a household name.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading comments with people saying like, "Where are these guys at? Where'd they go?" Because it was so shocking that we didn't come back right away.
Yeah.
And it kind of threw us off a little bit, man. It was a little confusing. So
Yeah.
we didn't take it too well, I'll say that. But, we kept moving forward, though, because that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
It's one of them things, man. It's out of your hands. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Bobby, I know Bobby had been into it for a while, and Tony, T-Row had been doing it for a while. Because Tony was in another group. We was all in different groups and doing different things.
Yeah.
But because me and Pookie came from a different, it wasn't a big worry about, because it wasn't really like I understood platinum versus, you know what I mean? I just felt like people know our song is on the radio, it's popping, we're young in the 20s, like, let's go, but so I didn't really feel that part of it. Those guys were really into it at the time. I'm more into it now than I was then, but at the time I wasn't really into the political part of, of the record business. I wanted to be, but hell, I was so busy trying to make a hit. You know what I mean? We was too busy just trying to get our craft as artists and singers together that it didn't dawn on me till later that, how many records was sold or how many CDs were sold or whatever. But, and then later, even then I was, it was like, I had my run, I had my, but I never got into that part of it, but I do understand the frustration there was. I remember a time we sat at the table and it was Keith called us to the house at 3 a.m. We basically flew in. I got landed at midnight and went straight to his house. We could talk about this, and because he was upset about it himself. And it just went into a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, I can see it being frustrating. Again, I was still on cloud nine, even cutting a new project. I just felt like doing a new project, we could save ourselves, try to do it again. So
right. So at what point during this whole process are you realizing that, because you guys came from that era where bad contracts were a regular thing, you guys probably aren't making what you guys hope or expect to make. Like, when did you guys come to a realization that there's a lot of hands in these pockets and they might not all be your pockets?
I believe the second. I mean, when we started the second album, I think that's what did it. After that, we started realizing, certain flaws that was going on. But at the time, though, I will say this: we did have some other things going on, like we were producing for Dru Hill and other artists too as well.
Yes.
Like the "Share My World" you guys were talking about. That was really us. We cut it on Keith first. It was our record.
Wow.
But we had other stuff going on, man. And either way, we were still thinking like, what? If we had some downtime, we'll do this, and hoping that everything else with the group was going to still pick back up. But things end up going the way they are,
right?
Or the way they went, rather. And but it put us in a bad little spot because it was the fans, man. They still wanted Old Skool. Like I said, that's what there were so many people. As I'm reading comments, even to this day, I'm still reading comments to this day that where these guys at? These guys need to come back.
Yeah.
So, and I think we could have. I know I'm not gonna say I think I take that back. I know for a fact we could have came back a while back, a long time ago.
Right.
But I think from being stagnated and, you know, like I said, just when you go through something, it kind of affects you physically and emotionally and creatively, you know, so that had a lot to do with it too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about those Dru Hill records you guys did with Keith, because those are like standouts on that Dru Hill album. I know it's funny because when I spoke to Nokio from the group, they didn't even want to record those songs because, you know, they wanted just to have their own records on the
Right.
album. But like Share My World ends up being a fan favorite. Like, what was that like for you guys just to hear your guys' sound on another group that ends up being, you know, at this point, a legendary group? Like, what does that make you guys feel like you guys had that impact on another group and just letting them
But
shine as well?
again, I mean, hats off to the exec producer with Sweat. I mean, that was his call. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Again, we was just, believe it or not, we were just utensils in that part of it. They
Yeah.
didn't understand. But I can say this: it woke us up as writers and producers, and I start understanding that part more than I started understanding the other political part in the business.
Yeah.
But because I knew once, because before Dru Hill, I think my first check. No, it was our first big checks was from Dru Hill. So of course we
Wow.
didn't, you know, before we got our own, you know, that was before we even got our own check.
Yeah, because they came out before we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we got, you know, we didn't even understand. I'm like, what is this for? And then I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, because we were so tied up into, again, doing it, and to have a song on Dru Hill and to sing backgrounds, because we sung backgrounds on That's the Way It Goes on Love. That's I'm singing background on that too.
Yeah.
So those songs, and to hear your voice, of course you don't know your voice. It was a blessing. We didn't look at it as, oh man, you know, same thing with Am I Dreaming. That wasn't for us, you know. It wasn't for us. But through politics, we ended up getting it and getting that song. But it was huge for us to get to work with, you know, on Dru Hill. Now, did we meet them? No, we met them in St. Louis doing a show with them.
Wow.
They never come to the studio, you know. We did the work, and you know, we come back, we hear the voices. And one day I was in the studio, and I remember when the engineer Carl was mixing it. I was like, wait a minute, you know, it's been so long, I forgot we sung the song. But again, didn't bother us at all. Not me anyway. That was a great thing for us as producers and writers, you know. That was a plus. That was the eye opener that, oh, we have a job no matter what. You know?
Wow.
Right, exactly.
Do you guys still have your version of that song somewhere?
Woo, I don't. Tony keep it.
I might.
Tony keep it, and Kevin probably have it. One of the
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, KJ has it. He's another producer on that. Yeah, he has it.
Yeah, we got to hear that. I'd be curious to hear how you guys took that one on. So we fast forward the second album, Jason. This is when you kind of came into the picture, R.S.V.P. I know this album was kind of, you know, they kind of propelled that one and told you guys to get back in the studio and work on this one. Like, what was that like working on this album?
Rushed.
Yeah, big time.
Rushed.
Yeah,
I feel like my ratings blues. Just going there and singing. I feel like it was just a rush deal. It was like, hurry up, chop, hurry up, get something, hurry up, and then it didn't do anything. Which I felt like that's where the big commotion for me came in, because we could have stayed on the first project, you know, pushed it harder. Especially when I was listening to Butter Love at the time, you know, Love Next. Butter Love came out while we was doing Set You Free video. Yeah. Listen to this. By the time that Am I Dreaming came out, Butter Love was in the top 10 in heavy rotation, because they stayed on that one song and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. No matter whether it was a hit or not, they made it a hit. So that's when I started feeling like, wait a minute, man, we could have put Am I Dreaming or Set You Free. But yeah, we did 2 videos and Butter Love was still pushing.
Wow.
I'll never forget that.
Do you think that's because, and I don't know what the politics were at the time, do you think the labels truly believed in you guys? Because I know you guys were also co-signed by Keith, so he had a lot of control over the whole situation.
You don't want me to answer.
No.
Hell no.
Look, the thing was, man, if I understand it right, Universal had never had an R&B group. We was the first one they ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
They really didn't know really how to do it.
Yeah.
So,
And you know what, he's right about that. And you know,
He
add
sure
along with
is.
that, what Tony just said, they didn't really know, and they kind of relied a lot on Keith because you know Keith had already had had things going with a couple of groups already.
Yeah.
But we're also talking about a time where and I'm gonna tell you this too, man. It was a time where we were all doing this, where so many things was going on. Keith had all his projects. Things were
LSG.
kind of just LSG. The Twisted album was still popping.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of stuff going on, man. And I believe that had a lot of lot of play in the situation too.
And we were writing not only for Old School, we tried to, and I don't think Universal knew that half the time we was in the studio, I know for a fact I was in there just for LSG and Keith Sweat, right?
Wow. Right.
So I spent more time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of work going on, a lot of things, in which we supposed to jump on it. We was young, we had the knowledge to do it. It was just a lot, man. There was a lot of things going on, and then we had personal stuff in the group, things happen because that's group shit,
Right.
that's the way it is. It just happened. So things was going on, man. And one time we was in like this really, really bad car accident, which made all of us look at life different. All of us to this day I still have them issues, but with this show, but that accident made life look different. We shut the highway down. We shut 400?
Yeah.
Yeah, we shut the whole highway down. We had the worst accident ever, man. But and things just was looking crazy. Mentally, we started getting mental. It started getting mental for us. We've been going away from home, and it was a lot of stuff that we wasn't used to, and it was like, come back and work. It's like, what? We didn't even have a house in Atlanta for the second project. We was all going home. We like, hey, come back and work. So we had to go back, find a place to live. Oh man, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was different, man. It was a lot. Like I didn't even think about that body until now when you said it was a lot going on. It really was.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
So Jason, with you being new to the group at that time, obviously you're not there for the first album, so you're not seeing the difference that maybe some of these other fellas are going. Like, how did you what was your takeaway from that whole experience?
Well, first of all, I was very excited, to be with these guys. When I got that call from Bobby, I was just like super, super excited. And I was just ready to work, just really trying to take everything in, just learning and just trying to get it done, basically.
Nice. So second album comes out. Obviously you guys aren't happy with the results of it. And, at that point you guys are just, it's different, right? When you come into a situation and you're expecting a lot of things and then the way things pan out, they pan out. What was it like for you guys after that album? Like, what was the next move? Because I was reading somewhere that the label had offered you guys like a situation overseas. What was your fan base overseas? Did you guys have a fan base overseas?
What? Yeah, we did, but we don't remember that part. That's new. Hey, that's new news to us.
Yeah, I never heard that. Yeah, that's a lie. Man, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff to read about. I've heard, and I've heard so many things from different promoters. I still run into promoters to this day that know Old School and ask about Old School.
Yeah.
And I hear so many things, man. So somebody needs to clear it up right now, Bobby. Let it all out.
So tell me about life.
Hey man, y'all forgot, man, that right before all this stopped, Katina was talking about sending us overseas. I forgot about it.
Yeah, because I remember her.
Everybody was so mad, man. You just skip your brain.
Yeah, I don't remember none of that.
I was mad, so I definitely don't remember what it does. Now that he said Katina, that it kind of, what I'm saying? Yeah, I kind of can remember that a little bit. I forgot about Katina with this situation.
And shouts out to Katina. That's still our home.
Katina Bynum.
Yes. She was basically our I don't know what to call. She was everything. She was there. She was PR. She was
wow.
She was there and crack of dawn. We had to be at 5 o'clock in the morning. She was there.
She really cared about us, man.
Yeah, we was her babies. I think we was her first artist too. I think she told me that. Yeah.
First group, R&B group.
Yeah, we was her first.
So I'm curious, during this period, when you're going through your transitions after that second album and it doesn't do what you guys wanted to do, like what was your relationship like with Keith at that point? Because he's a guy that co-signed you, obviously backed you guys up, and as you guys being young at the time, you guys might not understand the business the same way you guys do now. So you guys are looking at him as the guy that's supposed to guide you through all of this. Like, what was that relationship like with Keith at that time?
To me, it kind of, you know, it faded. It was starting to fade to me, as far as that, because like I said, I think we kind of start losing faith in certain, you know, not anything personal, not that, you know, with no disrespect, but like it was really some confusing times, man. And I think us getting in so early and having a #1 song, man, and we got shifted around so much, you know, having to jump from this to that, you know, when I think it just always kept us in a certain place of confusion, because, you know, it was, like I said, I keep going back to this, it was a lot of shit going on, man.
Yeah. And again,
a lot of stuff going on.
It is crazy though, and again, because even though I knew some things was going on, and hell, I guess I didn't. Again, with politics, I didn't know too much about it. I knew certain things, but I wasn't. You know, I was just hopeful,
right?
Because Keith kept me busy as a writer and, you know, producer and writer. So I didn't. It was like I was blinded by it because I was still working. Because I wrote on the last 2 or 3 records around that time in the 90s with him. I went up to 2000, I think. And he always had me around just writing. So I guess with that, I didn't notice that, hey, wait a minute, Ol Skool, you're not doing shit, you know? it hit me late, you know, but then once we start talking about it, I'm like, wait a minute, why we're not out, you know? We just said, let's just, you know, we basically asked to walk off. You know, we could just, because they was just gonna hold us, you know. We didn't want to be held on the label, and you know, so everybody want to know what happened to Ol Skool. The truth is, we asked them to let us go because we didn't want to be here. We didn't want to be here.
And we didn't, like I said, we're kind of, like he said, Curtis said, like the politics was so crazy, and we were like green to it. Yeah. I didn't learn, like right after this, after we left, I didn't learn that. I really didn't, even though I did a bunch of stuff before Ol Skool, but it was all music mostly. It wasn't, I was learning, but I didn't know anything about the politics. I didn't learn about the politics until after we left the situation, and I went to work for Sony under David McPherson for Sony in Columbia as an A&R rep. And that's when I started learning a lot of stuff like, oh, okay, this will probably just happen, and this probably happened during this situation, and this probably happened with this situation. That's when I started putting it together.
Wow. So during that period, after the second album comes out, that's when like St. Louis is really put on the map with acts like Nelly, Chingy, Jaquan, all these guys are coming out. Like that must have been really cool for you guys to see. You know, you guys came out a couple years prior to that, but just to see St. Louis blow up in that way must have been really cool.
It was bittersweet, believe it or not. Nelly, we basically was giving, a lot of people didn't know, we were giving Nelly CDs to give out in Myrtle Beach at the bike rally. Wow. We were there. We have CDs, and we would get out. I gave most of them away. It was just his single CD. So we, you know, for me, because again, I was just, you know, we support our own. That's family. That's home. Yeah. So to me, it was like, yeah, hey, check them out. It come from St. Louis. Woo. They was rocking the hell out that song in Myrtle Beach that year. We were there to do a show in Myrtle Beach. Yeah. So it was cool, man. I think so. Nelly was basically coming out on Universal.
Yeah.
While we was there, at one point, I think we had an interview, or we was doing a press conference, and he was there in the same building at the time in New York.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Crazy, man. The business, you know, and it's still crazy. You know, I think the business, believe it or not, don't get me wrong, I'm not against any of them. Everybody make their money the way they make it, but my words is to anybody, old school, new school, go in with your head up, don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to pay for your craft. So pay for an attorney. You know what I mean? Make sure you know what. I hear stories so much. I look at YouTube and I hear about these rappers and they tell them they're selling themselves to the devil or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, and it's easy to do because we live a see and say life. You know, we look at it. That's what we want. You know, at that time, what we wanted, we didn't want. It wasn't the Bentleys and stuff. We just wanted to be on top in the music scene. We just wanted our spot in the music scene. We wanted to be, and we did. We was able to do shows with Dru Hill and all the other groups and Next and all. We did a lot of shows with these guys. So it wasn't like we wasn't that. Sometimes we headlined shows, you know.
Wow.
And it was just like, wow, you know, what the hell happened? You know? You know, so I just wish for us we were more knowledgeable. We had enough. We didn't get any schooling, I don't think. You know.
Right. Yeah, we were so music driven, man. You know, we were just strictly music driven, man, and that played a big part.
Well, that's kind of how it is in the industry, right? The biggest lesson is just through mistakes and failures, and you guys went through that as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
What was life like after, you know, the group disbanded and, you know, you guys were still involved with the music? You know, maybe some of you guys weren't as involved, but you guys kind of transitioned back into being behind the scenes, back to that regular life after living a life that almost seems like a fantasy to most people, going on tours, performing live for people. Like, what was that transition like for you guys?
Who want to go? Jason, you go first.
For me, I was just in love with music. So basically I moved to New York. And, you know, like we were talking about earlier, ended up hooking up with Troy Taylor and working with Trey Songz and stuff like that. I just kept going, man, moved to New York, just kept recording, just really just staying around music and trying to be in the industry. You know?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much for the same for the rest of us. So I know it was for me. I just continued to try to do music and try to some way, you know, remain relevant. And but it definitely was a transition. But I will say this: we didn't get a chance really because everything happened so fast. We didn't get a chance to really reap the true benefits of the music industry, of the game. So I think that kind of kept us grounded to where when we came back, it was like, okay, when we back, just go back to what we were doing, you know. And that's probably how I can explain it best. But we just, you know, I don't think it threw us off too bad, but you know, it hurt us a little bit, but we still wanted it, you know. Everybody still wanted it in some type of way.
Right. What about you, Tony?
Oh man, I just went back to life. I just waited till the other guys came back and said they want to do it again, and we do it again. Other than that, you know, I just have my family, my kids, play baseball like I always do. I still play. So I just went back to the same old thing.
Nice.
I was still writing for Sweat afterwards, still submitting songs and going back and forth to for a while. And that lasted for maybe another year, but after that, I started doing a lot of plays, I just did a lot of music. I was always still performing, so it really didn't. Again, the only thing that I didn't understand was the politics, and I hate to this day I didn't get deeper into that part of it.
Right.
Because then I think a lot of things would have changed, and a lot of groups probably feel the same way, I'm sure. But I mean, we never lost our dignity. It was one of those things. You get a job, it's almost like a temp service. You go to work, you go home. You know, coming up young,
pay your bills, man.
Yeah,
so we had, you know, it was one of those jobs. Fortunately, we were still able to get out. We still have fans. We still have, every now and then we do shows. We still get together, do things, and still get a good turnout. People still love to see us, and you know, I've probably been on the road since then, since the end of Ol Skool during that time.
Right.
I've been on the road since then, so I still perform. I still see, and it's funny. I still see those guys. I still see Sweat. I see the same guys, man. Which lets me know the music isn't dead.
Yeah.
The music is still sitting there. It's breathing, just sitting in the incubator. It's never been out. It's still songs that people haven't even heard us do them live with the band. Because we was putting a band together for a little tour to do before, and we had this band set up and everybody practicing. And man, we was ready to go crazy because we were different artists on stage than we were in the studio. And that was the difference. We never had a chance to show our artistry live because we a band. We came from bands, you know, we musicians. I'm a musician. Bobby a musician. Jason a musician. We came from, you know.
Yeah. Now, I know a couple years back you guys reunited at Ol Skool. You guys were working on new music. Like, what was that like for you guys? Because some years had passed by. But you guys are different people now than when you guys first started. So, you know, what was that like?
Fun and scary.
Yeah, fun and scary at the same time.
Because, you know, some of us been doing it, some of us not. So it's almost, man, it was fun to have rehearsals and do choreography and do all of this. And people have left feet. It's like the left foot grew inside the right foot. But it was still fun. We was able to do it. And we got it through. We got through it. It was, I mean, I guess the camaraderie and the unity of trying to get it together probably was the best time. Not really the fact, honestly, whether we had a show or not, it was the fact that we came together once again just to get together because we all kind of scattered out in different states and different places. So to see each other and hang out, because we're not really, we talk, but not all the time. So to see each other again, it was like, oh man. And we had a good time, man. We ate, we hung out, we chilled, you know. Chief.
And I'll say, like, it's definitely, you know, I don't know if I'm going too far ahead, but it's definitely time for us to really show. And I believe things happen for a reason too, in a lot of situations, because I believe, you know, in some cases that it was meant for us to probably go through what we went through to become who we are now. And with the experience, we got way more experience now.
Oh yeah,
and even with,
I'm political as hell now. Come on with
yeah. And like I said, this is one thing I can say, man, because I believe in giving flowers today. Like for Curtis, for instance, Curtis was one of the first guys that got us around Dennis. We've been around a bunch of legends, man, and I can't say he's still around legends. He's still performing with guys in Vegas and doing other things with guys that are even way before the guys we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know, and he's breathing youth and life into these older legends, you know. So it's definitely not too late for Ol Skool. And we're definitely gonna make a serious comeback on however we look at it. They will see us again. I was just basically say that. They will see us again.
The fun we just having fun, man. And now, and I said this to someone before, that it was work to me then, you know. It was work to me then, but I think after paying your dues, now it's fun, man. It's like a party now.
Yeah.
Right now, I perform with the Spinners one of the legends he's still one of the originals is still there, and it's a party. He's even having a good time when he come out. You know, it's a party now, and he said the same thing. Yeah, they worked. It's not work anymore. At a certain time, if you done paid your dues, you out there, you having a good time. I see Sweat. I see all these guys. I saw a show with Bobby Brown and Keith Sweat, and everybody was there. Lil G and Flavor, everybody's just hanging out. It's just a good party. And, you know, everybody eating and talking like we've been knowing each other for years. You know, and some of us never even met, you know, genuine. And it was just a big party. And these guys, they didn't care, man. The people loved it. They had a good time. And I'm thinking that's what the 90s music is. It's a party. And I think it all should come back. I think all those groups should just come back and just hit, man. So once we do something, it's gonna be live. So get ready.
Wow, that's amazing. So I know you guys have the aspirations of, you know, putting music out again, pushing forward. I know Pookie's no longer here with us. You know, what's that like for you guys? You guys are missing a member now, and I know that's tough on a personal level, but just, you know, as you know, in terms of the group and just professionally, like, how do you guys plan on? Yeah.
Another unbelievable sound, a voice you've never heard before. Another person, another angel Singing Angel that the world never really got a chance to really see his talent, man. Really witness. You really didn't get a chance to see it, and I really hate that part. And I wish Universal and Keith would have saw and tapped into that, because the second project, when I started writing, I really didn't want to do any leading on it. I really just wanted to just show his talent, because no one out there sound like Pookie. Nobody. Right. It was voices similar, but he had a voice that no one. I talked about it today, just like I talked about it then. Nobody had his sound.
Right.
No one. He didn't even know what his sound was. I knew Pookie from 4 years old, before he even went to kindergarten.
Wow.
And because his brother was my vocal instructor, and then his two brothers and my two brothers, we all had a gospel group together. That's how we ended up singing. So yeah, man, it's a voice. He was just that voice, man. The world never got a chance to really. And to me, he was another. Could have been a Dru Hill or Dennis Edwards or even a Charlie Wilson, because his range was impeccable. It was crazy. Yeah, nobody knew his range.
I first heard him sing. He was a 20-year-old kid. I couldn't believe what I heard when I heard him open his mouth.
Yeah, man.
Still to this day, man. Still to this day, nobody sounds
like this guy. So he did another rap. He did do some recording afterwards too. He did a blues record. Yeah, because everybody thought, oh, he got a blues voice, but if he was used the right way with Universal and Sweat label, if it would have been used the right way, they'd really allowed us to have that, go out and do what we want, and they would have saw a difference. The dude was crazy, man. Wow. The dude was crazy. Ol Skool had a chance to listen to him. Oh, it was crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So finally, guys, just to wrap things up, because it's like, you guys just went down memory lane and shared a lot of your experiences, good and bad. And that's kind of the whole point of this is to let people understand that you're going to have those good moments, just like you're going to have those bad moments. But when you put it all together, like, what's the biggest takeaway from you guys in your career? And, just what would you tell the people that might end up in the same situation that you guys do? Hopefully not, but hey, you guys got hits out of that as well. But just in totality, like, what's that journey been like for you guys?
I'll say, if you come in as a group, leave as a group, and try to stay connected, whether it's a career or not. Try to stay a family. That's the biggest thing. Trying to stay a family, man. You never know. You never know. I think a lot of groups break up when it's over with. And never. They spread out, and you don't hear from it. No, I think the biggest thing is to stay together, because you never know when somebody bring your hit back to life again. Yeah, just from one record spin, one spin. With all the new stuff anyway. So just try to stay together, man, as a family.
And you gotta keep pushing. Definitely keep pushing. I believe, like I said, I was looking at like, am I dreaming right now? I said 20. It just hit the 25 million mark. Right. I remember when that video was right. I think in 2017, it was only like 2 million views on it. So when Xscape came back, man, with their reunion, you could tell the fans were digging in on it. Like today, I went to see my mom. I'll say this real quick. I went to go visit my mom. I told Jason earlier. I walk in to go see her at a nursing facility, and when I walk in, it's a lady change, that does the landing on a basket, and she had a phone sitting on the basket, and she's playing "Am I Dreaming?" And I look, and I tell my girl, I said, is that my mom's? We're thinking that's my mom's phone, because she'll probably have one of the nurses, hey, pull this video up and play it from my phone. But it happened to be a girl that was under 30 years old, man. Wow. And my mom had tried to tell her that whole morning while she was cleaning her room, like, that's my son. And she didn't believe her till I got there. So I say, I'm going to tell you guys that. So when I say to the girl, I said, Mom, I said to my mom, Mom, she probably didn't believe you. And the girl chimed in and said, I really didn't believe her. But she had been trying to tell her the whole morning, but that kind of shocked me today. I think that was a great sign today for me to see that, and share with you guys. Man, this kid is under 30, man. Yeah. So I told her, I said, this song is over 20 years old. She said back to me, this song is still popping.
It is. Wow. Yeah. I get that a lot on the road with the spinners. They were like, we know who you are, sign this. So they'll bring old CDs and I have to sign it. Like, we know who you are. I'm like, oh, okay. It feels good.
Yeah. Right. I had to sign an autograph for the girl that was playing it today. It was crazy, man. It was epic. Yeah.
Wow. That's all that I really had for you guys. An amazing story. Like I mentioned, a lot of ups and downs, but you guys are still here. I'm happy to see that you guys are pursuing it again. I know it's a different climate, a different industry. A lot has changed with the sound, but even just the business of music. But I'm happy to see all of that happening. And, is there anything that you guys want to touch on? I know I asked all the questions, but is there anything else that you guys want to add on?
I'm glad to see it. Glad to see a close comeback out, man.
Yeah.
You do sport. I've been watching them girls, and I was like, that's cool. So, and let's hope, not just for Old Skool, for a lot of groups, come out and hang out and still work, I mean, because even though the radio didn't make your hit, somebody knows all your songs.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone knows all your music, and they know, just like you were saying about the Dru Hill songs that we did. I didn't even know they was hits.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't think there'd be hits. We just said, Keith was like, hey, I want to put it on. Okay, go ahead. What the hell? We got 20,000 more, And it was no problems. But you saying they would smash hits, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I need to be trying to get me another check.
Oh man.
Get
All right.
some more money.
Really,
Well,
thanks for having us, man. I want to say
Yeah,
that
man,
thank
we
you for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
We
Giving us-
no,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Like I was telling Jason before you guys got on, like there's a lot of history here, and this is the type of stuff people need to hear because it's so easy just to call someone washed up or a one-hit wonder. But you guys,
Right.
people really need to know about, what transpired, the politics that took place. I know you guys are still learning about it and reflecting on that stuff, but that's the type of stuff that people need to know because it's like we live in this culture now where you're not on top of the charts, people just write you off. But if the talent is still there, I think there's still an opportunity for, people to do great things. So I look forward to seeing
Oh,
what you
it's
guys
definitely
do.
It's
Uh,
definitely yeah.
yeah, so I look forward to seeing what you guys do
Yeah,
in the
Lee.
future, and just keep us posted. I know a lot of R&B fans from the '90s and the 2000s, they're still seeking those big harmonies, those great vocals, and that sound. So as long as you guys keep bringing that, I think a lot of fans will be happy to hear from you guys.